Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Sharief Ishaq's been with the Saints all the way, been with us each and every Tuesday, joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. How are you, Sharief?
Good, man. I'm assuming that Saints fans are, thinking they're gonna, book their tickets to Vegas and play for the Super Bowl championship.
It was a good showing. And what'd you think?
Yeah, I was telling people, I was like, watching, the first team offense throughout the entire training camp, a lot of ups and downs, which you expect because you face off against each other every day in practice. It's just the monotony of practice. And, you don't really get a great rhythm until you face another team. And it looked like that first team offense had been together for years. The way they just drove down the field, Derek Carr, like Derek Allen said, in control, poised, 6 of 8, finding 4 different targets. That pass to Michael Thomas, he put it in a perfect spot. I thought it was a really good drive by Derek Carr and his only drive. I thought it was, nice to see that. It was nice to see something, productive from the quarterback position in only one drive. I like the direction they're heading in. I know they're probably not going to see more preseason action the rest of the time here against the Chargers and the Texans. But look, that was it, and that's just a taste of what's to come. It was nice. It was nice to see that from the offense.
Let me stop you right there. You don't expect to see Carr in the first team in the next 2 preseason games?
I would be shocked, honestly, man. Honestly, I would be. I mean, because the joint practices are way more important the next 2 weeks than actually playing the game. You got to be careful what you do. I mean, you don't want to suffer any injuries playing in these games. And, that was always Sean Payton's, theory to get the most out of these joint practices. And I think Dennis Allen falls the same suit. I could be wrong. Maybe Derek Carr pitches to play in this game and maybe gets another series. But, you're at that point where, like, man, you just cannot afford anything to happen to one of your starters. So the joint practices have always been way more important than these preseason games.
I'm curious where you think the depth chart stops for the active roster at wide receiver. Obviously, Olave and Thomas and Shaheed are going to be in, and then it's the Traquan Smith, Keith Kirkwood crew there in the back end. Of course, Kirkwood had the touchdown there. But if you're going to keep that many tight ends and you're going to keep Taysom, where do you think the wide receiver room stops on the active 53?
Right. I mean, look, A.T. Perry flashed really well in that game, caught all 6 of his targets. Keith being in on that first team offense, that first drive. I mean, that's because Rashid Shaheed is hurt and couldn't play in the game and probably won't play until the first week. I mean, look, 5 or 6 wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we're in a passing league, and Derek Carr's probably going to vouch to get like a 6th receiver. It's got to be 5 or 6. But, you say the first 3, then after that it's 2. Is it Traquan Smith? Is it Kirkwood? Or A.T. Perry fighting for a spot? I mean, he's had an up and down camp and then shows in the game. Well, lights come on. He's awesome. I mean, but 5 or 6, it's going to be those 3 guys fighting for those 3 spots. It's a good thing to have, man. Depth at that position is fine. It's just some of the other positions you're like, oh man, somebody goes down. How's it going to look?
How'd you think Trevor Penning looked?
I thought he played decent. I thought he actually played very decent. Played very decent in my mind. And that first team offensive line, in that one drive, a lot of steal blocks, create that nice little hole for Kamara to run through in that first run he had. I have no complaints from Trevor on Trevor Penning's game and anything else from that first team offensive line. And, he's coming off that Liz Frank injury. I mean, I thought he played well, the snaps he got. So look, the first team offensive line killed it. They did exactly what they were supposed to do. It's after that, Hunt. Second, third team offensive line, guys that you need for depth and backup, just an utter failure. It was awful to watch everything after the first team offensive line.
Let's talk running back. Kamara looked healthy, looked explosive. You lose Kendre Miller for a little bit of time here, and then the Saints bring in Darrell Williams, who we're familiar with his days from John Ehret, and then, of course, here at LSU. What do you make of that group at this point in training camp?
It's one of the positions you can't afford to lose anybody in. Like, it's good to know that it's not a long-term injury for Kendre Miller. Jamal Williams, he's getting 4 yards, surging through that line, 4 yards a pop every time he touched the ball, it felt like. And you're like, he's getting stuff with line and kept churning those legs and getting 4 or 5 yards a pop. I like it. I like what they've done in camp with the running backs and bringing in Darrell Williams doesn't hurt. Pass catcher can, catch out of the backfield and run the ball a little bit. They just, it almost feels like, man, let's put these running backs in bubble wrap. I mean, we can't afford to lose Jamal or Alvin. Alvin's already out for the first 3 games, but just can't afford to have anyone get hurt now in that position, now that you have Kendre Miller. But I think, for the most part, I like the depth there. If no one else obviously gets hurt, it's fine. It's going to be fine there, the way Derek Carr and Pete Carmichael, shaped that offense. I just like it. And I do like Darrell being on that offense and how he's going to be able to help.
Can Zach Bond help?
I just keep saying this to people. I'm like, why are they trying to make him something he's not? He's a pass rusher. He's not a linebacker. He's an edge rusher. He never really dropped back at Wisconsin. Just let him rush the passer. He does one thing really well. Gets after the quarterback. I mean, nice little sack for him in that game, but he is what he is at this point. This is a make or break special teamer and an edge rusher. He's not going to play linebacker like Pete and DeMario. That's just not what he does. I mean, I understand that in that defense you have to be able to do multiple things, but that's not what Zach does. Zach gets after the quarterback.
Chatting with Sharief Ishaq, WDSU down in New Orleans. Saints headed out to L.A. to play the Chargers this weekend. They'll have a couple of joint practices before that. What do they need to get accomplished? A guy or two that you would look at and say, hey, this is a big week for them, whether it's improving or just making the roster?
We could continue to talk about the first-team offense. I do want to see more from the first and second-round pick. I want to see more from Z. Z was in on that play where the ball got tipped and intercepted by Amadi. He did a good job to force the pressure up the middle. I want to see a bit more from him in these games. Didn't have a good game. And I understand it's a learning curve for him. And I've said many times on this show, you don't have the most sacks in Notre Dame history by accident. It is going to be a learning curve for him. It might take a couple years, but he's getting beat up a bit by the offensive line for the Chiefs. So I do need to see a little bit more from those two. And Jake Haener, he did a good job of leading the comeback, but at the start of that game wasn't pretty, man. But that's, you get with a rookie quarterback, a lot of up and down. But I do want to see that from the rookie side. The first team offense, I think they're gonna do well in this Chargers joint practice. I really do. I feel like they're in sync. They have something nice and special going with Derek in command and building that chemistry and his constant communication with his receivers and tight end. I was a little shocked that Foster didn't see the ball. I'd like to see Foster more get a few touches here and there, and they've gone in and these joint practices. Got to get him back in the flow.
Lutz converted his kick early in the game. Any chance that he's not the staying starting kicker come the first game?
I think if he's hurt, that's the only chance he's not the kicker. That's the only way I think he loses his job. Hey, it's a nice competition. Iron sharpens iron, the biggest cliche out there. It's nice that Blake Grupe is in there, had a chance to kick the game winner. But 2 guys are good, man. It's funny, though. It really is funny what Grupe tweeted about what happened today at the Dome. Look, man, if you walk next to him, he's not wearing a Saints uniform, you would just think he's a water boy. Literally, you'd think he's an equipment manager. He's not that big, but got a big leg. So it's a nice little competition. Will Lutz probably feels that he's being pushed by him, and that's good. That's what you want. You want a guy to wake up and get back to his old form or to a better version of himself. So I think it's Will Lutz's job to lose unless he gets hurt.
Have you had a chance to walk around the Dome a little bit and see the renovations?
Yeah, a little bit, not much. It looks good, but there's still a ways to go. Whenever you're in the press box and opened up, and like around the the inside of the stadium, it looks good. It really does look good. It's still a year out from being finished, of course, and it's going to be much better. There's a lot of things to work out. I think that game Sunday was an example of, hey, we've still got some things to fix, and whether if it's the food and the walking around and being in kind of tight spots, they're going to figure it out. But it's going to be a nice place. It really is going to be state of the art for stadium whenever it's completely finished in the year.
You headed to L.A.?
Not Dylan's second birthday party this weekend, so I've never gone on that trip. Fletcher usually goes on it. We're not going to go on it this year, but it's birthday number 2, so I'm at home. I'd love to get some of that nice weather over there in the West Coast. Pretty cool time.
Well, happy birthday to Dylan, and obviously you won't have to worry about her interrupting any Omaha trips. So if you miss a preseason game here or there, that's okay, but you'll still be able to go to Omaha because her birthday won't interfere with that.
Omaha's the best, man. You know how much I love Omaha. But you know what? Birthday number 2 supersedes any preseason action.
There you go. All right. Well, we'll talk next week, Sharief. Thanks, man.
All right, hon. Anytime.
Hey, it's on. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.